This bending down stuff's getting old. Well, how about that? Hey guys and gals, welcome to Garage Gear. I'm JB. I purchased this Franklin 1,000 pound hydraulic lift table from Harbor Freight for my garage with my own money, so you know you're getting an honest review. I've been talking about getting one of these for a while, so let's unbox this babe. All right, let's start snapping some staples here. There we go. Every inch of this box is full. So here's the rubber tabletop. I'm gonna set this aside right here. Look at this. They put wood in the box. That's how you know it's heavy duty. Let's cut the box open and roll it out. Here's our pump handle. And to help this video get a nice pump with the YouTube algorithm, would you mind hitting that like button? Thank you. Our owner's manual. It looks like we gotta slide out our handle. How does one do this? So our handlebar is trapped underneath the table, and the cable that it has attaching to it isn't that long, so I'm gonna have to tip this table on its side in order to get that handlebar up and out. There we go. Slide this baby out. This sucker is heavy. And drop the table back down. Good. Well, let's get this cardboard off here. Open this up. Cut this all off. Slide that out. So now our next step is going to be mounting this handlebar up, but I have all this hardware here at the bottom. I'm going to take this all off. And then from here, we get to play the game of find the hole and drop it in. There we go. It's a little greasy, and I think they did that just to kind of keep it from rusting inside the package. There we go, we're in. Notice I'm on a knee pad here. Kind of the reason why I bought this whole cart. Getting tired of being down on the ground. But let's get these nuts and washers on here and secure this handlebar. Thread these on by hand first. That's one. That's two, that's three, and four all thread on by hand. So now you're gonna need a 6mm Allen wrench as well as a 14mm socket. And I'm just using a deep well just because these bolts are a little bit long. I'm gonna start with the back one first. That in there, just because that one's a little easier to access. That one's in and stuck. Let go. Got it. Ugh. I'm gonna come back here and do the same thing on this back one. Okay, just a heads up, there is no way to get an Allen key in here. Even if I push down on this handle, I can't get my Allen key in there to hold this bolt down. So what I'm gonna do is actually take this out and flip it. It's a lot easier for me to get the Allen key on the bottom and a narrow wrench inside if I just flip it upside down. Just like that. I can get my 14mm wrench in here and then just twist it down. That's working a lot better. Good, she's tight. Same thing over here, let's flip the screw. Okay, so we're going up, threading that guy on as best we can, getting the Allen wrench from the bottom and give her the old twisty twist. Good, definitely the way to go, getting these in from the bottom. All right, last item of business is installing our pump pedal, and we're gonna take out this bolt here on the end, stick it on in, line up our holes, thread it in, tighten it down with a 6mm, and we're good to go. All right, that table's all now set up. Let's give it some pumps. Oh, there we go. Good deal. I'm gonna have to work my other leg too from time to time. Keep them both strong. Look at that. That goes up nice. I'll tell you what, that's a good looking lift table. Oh my gosh, this is gonna make my life so much easier working from up here. Beautiful. And to let it down, simply grab the handle. Down she goes. Nice and smooth. It's a wonderful thing. Now that's the lift table right out of the box. Here's the details. This Franklin hydraulic lift table can lift up to 1,000 pounds, and it's made in China. She's made of all steel, and right out of the box, she weighs 161 pounds. The wheels on this table are 5 inches tall by 1 3/16 inches wide. The rear wheels can pivot and are lockable. The overall length of the table is 42 inches. The width is 20 7/16 inches, and the height of the handlebar is 38 1/4 inches. The maximum lift height is 34.5 inches, and the minimum height of the table is 11 inches. Now let's talk about the lifting platform here. The overall length is 32 inches by 20 inches wide. Now what I wanna know is how many pumps it's gonna take to get this table all the way to the top. Let's find out. That was right about 38 pumps to get it to the top. And after a couple of attempts, it was right around that 37 to 38 pump range. So pretty consistent. More consistent than a Tootsie Pop. You never know how many licks to the center of one of those. And in case you're interested in purchasing this 1,000-pound lift table by Franklin from Harbor Freight, the model number is 70725. And I'll have a link to it down below in the description, as well as some links to some other lift tables as well. And thank you very much for supporting the channel. Now, this unit, as is, could work for working on lawnmowers and snowblowers, but it could be risky. Things could fall off of it because it is a bit narrow at 20 inches, and most lawnmowers are 21 inches and snowblowers are wider than that. So first I'm gonna remove this rubber top, and I have here a 30 by 36 inch by 3/4 inch thick piece of plywood to put right here on top. So now what I'm gonna do is take this board and bolt it to that top steel platform. This will give me a wider working area, so that way I don't risk a lawnmower or snowblower falling off. We're gonna bolt this down. Now what I'm gonna do is measure it out and make sure that it's centered. Why is this bottom table? It's 20.5. Now the dimensions on the box say that the table topper is 20 inches wide, but when I measure it with my tape measure, I'm just shy of 20.5 inches. So we're gonna have to center this just the way we need to in order to get this tabletop positioned where we want. So I'm gonna have about 4 3/4 overhang on each side of the table. Good here. On the back side of the table, I don't have that much room, but I am gonna hang it back a little bit to about an inch over the table. 1 inch, 1 inch. We are centered. Now I'm just gonna go underneath and mark this off with my Sharpie so I know exactly where it's gotta go. Cool. Perfect. Now what I got to do is find the right spots to drill my mounting bolts. And up underneath, we have some channels right here on this side where there's nothing going on and it doesn't really contact anything. In fact, it hangs over this edge. So we're safe there if we go in anywhere in this channel underneath. Same thing here on this side, totally wide open channel with nothing over to the side here as the table comes down. Now I popped on some giant metal clamps here on each side to hold the board down so that way I can drill without this board shifting in place. What I did is I placed a dot where I'm going to drill, and I measured in 5 3/8 inches from the side and 3.5 inches in all 4 corners. And that's the same, so that way I keep it consistent. It's nice and easy for me. What I'm gonna do is drill down through the wood, basically get a pilot hole started on the metal platform underneath, and that's gonna give me just enough space because that bolt that I bought is kind of long and they're gonna hang over just to the edge, and that should drop down right to the outside of these metal bars down here. Now I purchased these carriage bolts that are 3 inches by 3/8, and I decided to go a little longer because I didn't know the exact depth of the metal here that would be on this top plate. It's actually pretty thin, so that's cool, but I am gonna have some bolt hanging out. So if you're gonna do this on your end, you could probably get away with 1.5 inch bolt and you'd be fine. I'm gonna use these. Let's get some holes drilled. Okay, so now as we lift up our board, yep, there are our holes, and they all look pretty even, not bad. So now what I'm gonna do is take my good old trusty step bit. I'm gonna drill some wider holes in these corners. There we go. Now I got metal shavings all over this thing, so I'm just gonna clean those up real quick. Now we got our holes all drilled out. We're looking good. Let's get the board on it. There we go. Put that right on. All lined up. Slide our first bolt in. I have to get a little aggressive with this one because it didn't go all the way through the wood. There it is. And last one. Done. Now I'm just gonna pound these carriage bolts in so that way there's a nice tight fit between them and the wood. Cool. When in doubt, lock washer it out. Same thing here on the rest of these bolts. This board is a little bowed, but that's okay. We're gonna pull it right down with all these nuts and bolts. And on, let's tighten them down. Now, I just want to get this board on here to see what it looks like. I can always take it off, paint it black to match, and do all this and that to doll it up, but I want to see how it functions first. That tabletop is now on there. That looks rock solid. It moves with the entire table now. Now it's time for the piece of resistance. I am going to take this 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch board here and stick this right on the end. It's a little piece of trim wood, and all I'm gonna do is just simply screw it down a couple of times, and this is gonna prevent any lawnmowers or snowblowers from rolling off. Done. And we have no rub on any of the bolts. Perfect. This hydraulic lift cart is now all set, so if you're ready, I'm ready, let's lift something. All right, so I'm gonna lock the back wheels. That way this cart doesn't move at all. And I couldn't think of a cooler lawnmower than this John Deere JX75 for this lift's maiden voyage. Look at that, fit right up there, no problem. All right, now let's unlock it. We can free roll the baby. Position it this way. There we go. All right, let's send her to the sky. Here we go. Pump her up. Look at that. Isn't that awesome? This is amazing. This is going to save my back big time. Now I don't got it. She's rolling around a little bit. This garage floor is not perfectly level, so I'm glad it's got some locks here, but I can do everything here. I can even move this over just a little bit. I could put a pan here. I could drain the oil right out on this guy because this mower is cool and it's got the oil spout right there on the side of the engine. But look at this. I could work all around this without a problem. I'm not bending down. I'm not bending over anymore. Bending over is for the birds. And I still got a good 4 or 5 inches on each side of the board up here. So I got working room. I can put parts down. I can spread things out a little bit. That other deck that was on top at 20 inches would just been too narrow. So this is just perfect. All right, let's send her down. Pretty cool. Look at that. Easy peasy. Sit down and off she comes. All right, now let's put something even cooler up there. How about a 1971 snowblower? Oh boy, you're gonna be tricky to get up there. Will it do it? Yeah. Little tricky, you might have to back it onto this guy. Let's try the other way. If we tip it up and then we get the wheels on it, maybe we can just slide it right up. A little more complicated with a snowblower, I guess. All right, so we lift her up, get her on her face, get the wheels on it, pull it back. Yeah, that's a pretty good way of doing business right there. Can we get any further? Not really, not so much that way. I mean, it stays, but the handlebars are bumping up to this handlebar, so I gotta go the other way. It's definitely the easier way to get it on though. We're gonna use some ramps here because getting it over that lip is just complicated. So there's just not enough tipping room to do it. So let's give this a shot. Yep. Boom, look at that. Right up and on. Cool. All right, let's send her to the sky. Ooh, feels the resistance a little bit on that one. How about that? This is gonna make doing impeller kits so much easier. Engine work, you name it. I don't have to creep down, bend down, get a pad on the floor, none of that. Now, it's all within working height. Pretty cool, I can dive right in here. The engine's right here at my hand level. Pretty sweet, let's send her down. Nice and controlled, that's great. Done deal. Here's what happens when you don't lock the wheels. Even just the slightest push if your floor is unlevel. I mean, look at that thing go. It's just walking away. So you definitely got to use the locks. Pretty darn cool. Let's take her down. Now here's what I like about this Franklin 1,000 pound lift table from Harbor Freight and its setup. First up, this is 100% going to save my back. I look at this as an investment, not only for the garage, but for my overall health. I'm just getting really tired of bending over to fix stuff and film stuff. That and you're getting old. Yeah, but this really beats working on the hard ground with my knees on the concrete. When I was doing all those impeller kit videos last winter on the ground, my dogs were barking. It doesn't take that many pumps to get the equipment up to working height too. And when the tabletop is down, I can step on this silver bar on the back and push the handlebars down like that, and they fold somewhat flat. Now, if I didn't have this platform, this wider platform here on the top, these would fold directly down and flat. It's just the price you pay for a wider surface up top, and then as I pull this back, they lock right into place. There's even locks that fold down underneath to help lock the table in the upright position, which is pretty cool. Now, another cool feature is this. Let's say I have a brand new mower in the box. It's heavy. I could simply slide it out, put it on this platform, and then just lower it down to the ground. It's so great. I'm probably gonna find a bunch of other cool purposes to use this for as well as we go here. This beats my old method of sliding it down the ramps to get it onto another cart so I can push it into the garage. From here, I can just unlock it and go. Now here's what grinds my gears with this Franklin 1,000 pound lift table. First off, I wish all the wheels on the bottom pivoted. That would allow me to move this a lot more easily around the garage. Now the table does weigh a lot, and that's a given with all the steel that's on there. And speaking of the steel, when I got it out of the box, some of the corners were a little banged up, not bad. You can't even see it though because of the tabletop that I put on it. Bleeding the pump. I've seen some people complain about the table not holding its height and then slowly going down over time, or just not pumping up adequately, so they had to bleed the pump. Not exactly a hard fix, but something I'm gonna keep an eye out for. Overall, I'm happy with this purchase, and I'm sure this table will earn its keep just after working on the first few pieces of equipment. And for a good look at just about everything else I got going on in this garage, be sure to check out my full garage tour video, linked down below in the description. If you want to be part of the tribe, subscribe. For more cool garage gear content, click or tap the screen right here. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the garage.